If I had to start my painting business from absolutely zero in 2025, I will focus on these three strategies that took me from barely scraping by to constantly hitting 72,000 a month. In this video, I'm breaking down exactly what you need to do to rapidly grow your painting business. So first, you need to understand the number one mistake that's costing most painting businesses thousands of dollars. So back when I was starting out, I was 18 years old. I was talking with this old man who was looking to get his exterior home painted. And it was like an 8,700 deal. So as the conversation was coming to an end, I did the classic hard close. So I was like, when should we schedule you and how would you like to make that deposit? The usual thing, because that's what everybody was doing. But all of a sudden, his face went from a happy smile to looking really disappointed just a couple of seconds. And he said he didn't take decisions based on pressure. He was gonna call me back. That's when I realized that the old man didn't fully trust me yet, so he didn't buy from me. And it was only after I started building trust that I was able to close 72,000 in jobs. But how do you actually go about building trust? So think of it like growing a plant. So one person waters it every day, gives it sunlight, and is patient. And the other one, he comes and he starts pulling the plant, trying to make it grow faster, puts too much water, and at the end of the day, they end up killing the plant. So selling is the same thing. If you rush and push, people will back away. But if you take your time to learn how to actually help them, they're going to have trust and they're going to buy from you. So, how do you actually go about doing this on your next estimate though? On your next estimate, ask more questions than you talk. As the prospect answers, you can inform him about your service, and that builds authority because they can see that you know what you're doing, but always make sure that you make him talk more than you talk. You're gonna listen. The mistake is talking more than the prospect. And at the end of the day, the prospect doesn't care about you. I'm sorry to break that down. They care about themselves. So the more you make them feel that they were able to communicate their needs to you, the more they're going to feel like you're the right choice and you understand them. And if you do this, you're gonna sell more people and actually make them buy for you. But building trust is not enough. Your customers need to see their problems clearly before they're gonna even pay the prices that you deserve. And here's the crazy thing, 98% of your customers don't even understand why they need to take action and buy from you. So back when I was door knocking on neighborhoods, I approached this one house that had paint peeling off, it looked damaged, it looked just horrible. And I wanted to book that person into a free estimate, right? Because he needed to paint. So I knocked on the door and surprisingly the guy did open up. And I told him that if he wanted to get a free estimate to paint his house, to show him how much it would cost to paint, assuming he knew he needed it. But all of a sudden, he looked at me with an annoyed face and said, I think we're all set, buddy. And then he slammed the door at me. And that's when I realized that this man didn't fully understand that he needed to paint his house, even if it was obvious. And so I started to realize that I needed to change my approach when door knocking. I changed my script, and instead of just asking if they wanted an estimate, I asked a question that shows concern on why they need to paint their house. And once I did this, I started to book estimates consistently. And so you have to make people feel a sense of urgency. But how do you actually make them feel a sense of urgency so they actually buy from you? So imagine going to a doctor if they just walk in and say, you're gonna need surgery without even explaining what's wrong with you. You feel like nervous, maybe you even leave. But if they calmly show you the scan, they explain the problem, look at this, and they ask you what happens if you ignore it, you're much more open to fixing it because, well, you care about your health. And most importantly, because you analyze, thanks to the doctor's question, what happens if I actually don't do anything here? I might die. Now you're open to fixing it, even if it costs a lot of money. It's the same thing with your customers. So, how do you actually go about doing this yourself? In your next estimate, ask pain questions like, how long have you been noticing the pain peeling off? Apart from the obvious reason that you need to paint your house, what will happen if you just leave it the way it is? Another one. What happens if your home gets more damaged since there's no paint and prime protecting your home? This type of question makes the homeowner see the problem clearly, because you're not telling them, you're asking them to realize this themselves so they feel it. And when they feel it, hiring you becomes an investment, not just another expense. And here's the thing though, since you're asking them, you're forcing them to think this themselves. And so when they come to the realization that if they don't do anything, there's going to be a consequence, they own it. It's not because you told them, they themselves own the decision, and now they're more prone to actually take an action because it's their idea, not yours. And that if you can do that, you're going to close a lot of jobs. But there's actually a final element you need to pay attention to. If not, all this that we just said, it's kind of useless. So pay attention. So there's a moment in every sales conversation that can make or break the deal. And most painters experience it when they get a "let me think about it" from the customer. Has this ever happened to you? So there was a one time I was negotiating with an Indian guy. You already know they're tough. And he wanted to paint his interior, but he was looking for the cheapest price. And when I told him my price, which was around 7,000, he stayed silent for a long time. We're talking about like 5 minutes silent. It was really awkward. So I panicked and I decreased my price to try to close the job. And it still didn't even work. He looked at me and he wanted me to go lower, where to the point where it wasn't even profitable to do the job anymore. And that's when I realized that I ruined the negotiation by speaking before I should have. The reason that happened is because the Indian guy knew now that he could lower my prices. That was an option. And what I should have done is shut up my mouth and stay in that uncomfortable silence until he talked. And this small change, now I stay silent, allow me to close 72,000 a month in jobs just by simply staying silent. And that's what I call a small change that creates a big impact. So after you say your price, stay silent. And customers will notice, they feel that confidence, so they won't lower your prices. And that means that you're gonna win more jobs at the profits you want. But what do you do during that silent moment? Because it's pretty awkward. I'll tell you exactly what not to do. Don't start rubbing your fingers together nervously. Don't start shallow breathing. Just sit straight. If you're standing, stand straight. Breathe like a normal person, and just wait until he speaks. But here's the thing, knowing how to sell is actually just one piece. If you don't know how to attract estimates onto your calendar, even the best sales skills won't pay off since you have no estimates to see. So watch this video next and I'll show you exactly how we built our estimate generation machine that booked us out completely under 30 days. It's going to transform your painting business and your profits. So take a look at that. My name is Carlos. Take care.